standing up here in front of you all as a current ministerial student. Thank you all for being my teachers. Thank you so much. So I thought I would start my talk off today with a cartoon, just to get us a little humor going here. Oh yeah, first to reach enlightenment, right here, people. Woo, baby, eat my dust, baby. So the title of my talk today is The Journey to Enlightenment. And I love this cartoon because I think it so accurately reflects how we see ourselves sometimes on the spiritual path. That we have to reach a certain level of enlightenment. That we have to reach a certain level of spiritual progress or spiritual growth. Yeah, or we might look at our lives and say something like, oh, I've spent 10 years in therapy on that issue. I'm good there. Or I've healed that. I'm good. Yeah, and so we can have this sense of almost spiritual arrogance. I think that's just me. And so I have an example of this. In the last year and a half, I went through one of the most painful and difficult separation and divorces. It was the most incredibly painful experience. It took me to my knees. And as I sat with my pain, as I sat with my sadness, and looked at what is my part, what's my part in this, I realized that there was a little girl in me, a 5-year-old little girl, that was running my marriage. Running the show. And so there were wounds from my childhood that were still being expressed in my relationship. And you think that would have been an aha moment. That would have been actually good news. But it wasn't for me. I was angry. I was pissed. Because you see, I have spent more than 25 years working on healing my childhood wounds. I have been to every workshop, every retreat. I have read every self-help book you can imagine. I even got dropped off by boat onto a tiny little island on a huge lake in the middle of Toronto for my healing, with only a tent, a sleeping bag, and water. So I've done it all. So I asked myself, why? Why are you still here? Why are you still in my life? I didn't understand. I did not understand. Talk about spiritual arrogance. Jeff Foster, a great metaphysical teacher and healer, says this: we see healing and wholeness as a destination, as a place to get to, like enlightenment. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, they come to you as your children. Not because there is something wrong with you, but they come to you for love and to rest in your vastness. Fear, anger, sadness doesn't come to you to be healed. They come to you to be held. Science Mind says that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And although, yes, we are spiritual beings, we are also human beings with human emotions and human behaviors. Dare I say we even act in unspiritual ways at times. What? Things fly out of our mouths that could be anything other than spiritual. Yeah? Yeah. And what happens when we do that? We judge ourselves. We think we're not spiritual enough. We think we compare ourselves to a certain standard. Yeah? And so we have very little tolerance for ourselves or for others sometimes. You know? Can you believe that minister said that? Can you believe that practitioner acted that way? Yeah? And so there's that spiritual arrogance sometimes, yeah, that comes out in our way, especially those of us that have been in and around a spiritual community for a while. And so I think our teaching sometimes does this too, and our teaching is beautiful. Yeah, we talk a lot though about our thoughts and how our thoughts impact our lives and the power of our thoughts. And so we have a negative thought and then we think, cancel, cancel, cancel. I can't have that thought. Yeah? Am I the only one that can relate to this? Just checking. Just checking. So what would it look like if we let go of whatever vision we have in our head of how we should be as spiritual seekers? Letting go of the shoulds, of how we should behave or how we should act. What if we held our feelings and our behaviors the way that Jeff Foster talks about? Really held ourselves. When a wound shows up, it's a little part of ourself, a little part that just simply wants to be held, that just simply wants to be loved. Most likely none of us would slam the door on a child who showed up at our door, wounded and afraid and scared. We would invite that child in. We would hold them. We would embrace them. Yeah? And so why? Why do we not do that for ourselves? A story that I think illustrates this so beautifully is one of the parables of Jesus, the prodigal son. Many of you have heard this story. This story is about a young man who becomes destitute after wasting away his father's inheritance. And he is embarrassed and ashamed to return home. This picture is a wonderful representation of the father holding his son as he returns home. He finally gets the courage to return home. And so the prodigal son represents that part of us that has forgotten who we are, that has forgotten. And the Father represents that divine essence within us, that beautiful light that is contained within us, waiting there for us to return, waiting there with open arms, waiting patiently for us to return home, no matter how much of a mess that we think we have made of our lives. No matter how many mistakes we think we have made, the Father is always there, waiting to embrace us and to hold us. As humans, we forget who we are at times. You know, the role of a practitioner is to help us remember. That is the role of a practitioner. And we all need that. Even practitioners forget. And ministers certainly as well. Yeah? And so when we turn to God, God then turns to us. And so I think the prodigal son is a wonderful story about the dance between our human selves and our divine selves. All of us have wounds, and we are given endless opportunities to heal, to deepen, to tune in. Yeah? We don't have to go to an ashram to become enlightened. Our daily lives is an ashram. We don't even have to be dropped off by boat to a tiny little island for our healing. Yeah? I love this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. There is no enlightenment outside of daily life. So I encourage you to have compassion for your own humanity, for falling off your spiritual path from time to time, for not applying spiritual principles perfectly. The point isn't that you fell off, is that you chose to re-engage yourself. You chose to find somebody to help you remember who you are. The spiritual path isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about stumbling and falling and getting back up again. So I invite you right now to close your eyes if you're comfortable. Dropping into your heart. And I invite you to bring to mind an area in your life where you know that you have judged yourself, or where you have judged another. Perhaps an area in your life where you have thought that, I didn't handle that so well. And I want you to breathe in the energy of love and compassion, connecting into that Mother, Father, God within you, that divine source that is there with open arms, there to hold you and love you. Just feel that presence. And just allow the love to envelop you, to surround you and hold you. And now bringing to mind a younger version of yourself, that little girl, that little boy, and seeing that beautiful being standing before you, and wrapping your arms around them, telling them that they are loved, telling them that they are whole, that they are safe right here, right now. And so giving them one last hug, sending them on their way with love, with light, and gently bringing yourself back to this space. Taking one last deep breath and opening your eyes. And so there isn't a place to get to where you will arrive at, where you will no longer have to deal with wounds from your past, where you will no longer get triggered, where you will no longer have moments of insecurity or fear or doubt. Welcome to what it's like to walk upon this earthly plane as a spiritual being having a human experience. Our wounds are our greatest teachers. They provide us endless opportunities to grow, to expand who we are, and to connect in to that Father within us. So the goal isn't about becoming enlightened. That is not the goal. It's about embracing yourself for who you are, for the magnificent and beautiful being that you are. It's about loving ourselves through the journey, stumbling and falling and standing back up again, remembering our divinity and honoring our humanity. That is enlightenment. And so I want to end with a beautiful poem by Courtney Walsh called Dear Human. Dear human, you've got it all wrong. You didn't come here to master unconditional love. That is where you came from and where you will return. You came here to learn personal love, universal love, messy love, crazy love, broken love, whole love. Infused with divinity, live through the grace of stumbling, demonstrating through the beauty of messing up often. You didn't come here to be perfect. You already are. You came here to be gorgeously human, flawed and fabulous, then to rise again into remembering. This is who you are. Let's go into prayer. I invite practitioners to stand in high consciousness. And so we just tune into that beautiful presence within us. That place where God lives, that place where there is open arms and an open heart. Knowing that we can always return to that place within us. Knowing that we can always be graced by that presence. No matter how many mistakes we think we have made, no matter how many moments we have judged ourselves or judged others, that we can always return home, that we are enough, that we are perfect. Just as we are those divine beings, filled with light, filled with love, filled with grace. And so I just give thanks for that power and that love that God is, that is moving so beautifully through each of us here, helping us to remember who we are, helping us to remember that we are never alone, that we are always, always connected, that at any moment we can return to that Father's house within us. And so I give such great thanks for that presence. And I release this, knowing that it is done, that it is so. And so we let this go and we allow it to be. And we unify this together by saying,